I'd like to welcome everybody to our regular Township of Adelaide Metcalfe meeting. It's Monday, March the 3rd at 7 p.m. and we're here in the Township office. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's now 7 o'clock. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, you've had a chance to look over the agenda. I have a recommendation that the agenda for March the 3rd, 2025 meeting of council be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. You've had a chance to read the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, then could I have I have a motion that the minutes of the Adelaide Metcalfe Council meeting held on February the 18th, 2025 be adopted as printed. A mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, you've got the consent agenda in front of you. Is there anything you'd like removed from that for discussion? Okay, seeing none, the correspondence, we have a request from the municipality of North Bruce Peninsula regarding cell towers and their associated maintenance for support. Is there any interest in that? Seeing none, 7B, a resolution, support for a resolution from the municipality of North Bruce Peninsula again regarding tow hooks on new vehicles. It was an interesting resolution. 7C, a resolution from the town of Fort Erie regarding the provincial election healthcare advocacy. And 7D, a request to support a resolution from the town of Goderich regarding a ride share support. A request for support from the resolution of the township of the archipelago regarding support for Canadian business and consumers. Okay, we have a recommendation that council receive and file correspondence items 7A through 7E. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor, and that's carried. Oh, my screen kind of jumped ahead on me here. Under the consent agenda, it was not removed. Or you just want the motion read? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, regarding the consent agenda, we have a recommendation that items 6A through 6F listed under the heading of consent agenda for March 3rd, 2025 be adopted as recommended. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All in favor, and that's carried. My hand was quicker than it should have been there. Okay, next up are the staff reports. I'll turn this over to Morgan Calvert and Josh White from Middlesex County, and it's regarding procurement.
Start, and I'll just kick over to you. Yep. Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through you to council. Council will note that I forwarded a copy of this draft bylaw to council earlier this week. The reason why I did that is because it is quite a lengthy document, being about 44 pages long. I've come to learn that that's about the norm, between 42 and 44 pages long, to make sure we capture all of our potential liabilities and new tools. In saying that, I'll toss it over to Josh just to briefly speak about the procurement policy, maybe some of the tools that you'll find within, and some of the changes that we've made.
Thank you. Through the mayor to council. So a thorough procurement policy serves a variety of purposes, including providing township staff guidance on various purchasing requirements and applicable process in an effort to provide best value for taxpayer dollars, as well as having pre-established responsibilities and procedures that have been developed based on municipal best practices, the various trade agreements that we were required to abide by, and legal precedent in order to mitigate any risks for the township. As you can see from the report, the thresholds for approval are much in line with the previous policy, with some minor amendments, specifically as it pertains to vehicle purchases. And you'll also notice that the policy addresses a variety of things that the previous policy did not, such as pre-qualifications, as you saw with the engineering services RFP late last year, group purchasing organizations, Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford Purchasing a Group is the local one, but there's also OACM and LAS's canoe procurement. Procurement process complaints, supplier and evaluation and suspension policies are now addressed. Most of this policy is aligned with that at the county, as well as the lower tiers that we're currently rolling out bylaws for that we support, which from my department's perspective will allow us to provide services more efficiently and more effectively. At this point, I'll pass the floor back to the CAO and be happy to address any questions council may have.
Morgan, nothing further to add? Okay. You've had a chance to read it. It was a lengthy document. I think it was 44 pages, and I know several of you reached out to Morgan for clarification on a few matters. Is there anything else, Councillor Kingma?
Thank you, through the mayor, to Josh. I try to put myself in the shoes of a prospective supplier. And is it likely that a lot of them would be intimidated by the sheer volume of information that they have to aggregate in order to submit a bid?
Through the mayor to the councillor. So this is very procedure based, but more so it's procedure based from the township staff perspective. And from that aspect, my department's here to support them through that. As it pertains to our bid documents that the suppliers ultimately see, there's really very little change whatsoever. If anything, it's more transparent and easy to follow. So as our new templates that I'm currently working with county legal on go out, as I mentioned, this policy would be similar to the other ones going out there. It'll actually reference this bylaw as well, or the other applicable bylaws as necessary. And for things where, vendors aren't necessarily aware of, specifically post procurement process, like how to file a complaint if there's an issue, or how to reach out for a bid debrief, which is something we get fairly frequently. It's going to be right in the procurement document to say, for example, for a debrief, reach out within 14 days of notice of award and we'll be happy to provide you with one, so forth, so on and so forth. Whereas right now they're just, reaching out to whoever they can get a hold of, whether it be the CAO or myself, and we go through that process. The process as it pertains to specifically submitting the bid, that changes very little from what we're doing today. And so far it's been working successfully.
Yeah, through the mayor and to support Josh's response, the procurement document basically just identifies, well, to your point, how complex procurement can be, but it's really Josh and my job and Mike's job and Johnny's job to make our procurement processes simple and easy to consume using accessible language. So if we're going out for an RFQ, we're not a request for quote, which is usually a low dollar value. We're not adding a 44-page tender document requiring a whole bunch of things that make that particular procurement exercise too complicated. If we're going to consolidate garage facilities in the township and we're going to build an 8-bay structure, it's going to come with different factors or complexities at a different level of spend, because that's what we're really looking for. And the teams that would create an 8-bay structure versus sell us some jackets, for example, would be treated differently through that procurement process. So our job is to take this procurement policy. It protects us from a legal perspective, but it allows us to create procurement processes that really match what we're looking for. So it's our job to make it less complicated.
And sorry, if you don't mind me jumping in through the mayor to council. Don't get me wrong. We have access to legal resources at the county. They have their input on our tender documents, and that is all there in the background, so on and so forth. But there are specific sections in the tender or the RFP that specifically speak to that bid and what the township is looking for and what is required for submission and what is its submissions are going to be evaluated on. So even though that stuff is there and it serves its purpose, we make sure to, for a lack of a better term, separate it from the rest of the document for what the actual bidders are looking at. And we try and make it as clear as day as to what they actually need to do to submit a bid.
Okay, so I think it's fair to say, based on the complexity of the RFP, maybe you would tailor it.
Correct.
Okay. And just for clarity, that was just an example, consolidating the garage and putting an 8-bay in. Just let's be clear here, that's not in the budget, so. Okay, any other questions for Josh or Morgan? So, okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation that council approve the procurement policy as attached. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Kingma, seconded by Counselor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thanks for coming, Josh. Okay, next up on the agenda is 8B, the single surface treatment, and I'll turn this part of the meeting over to our Public Works Manager, Coulter Cahill, to go over the tender results.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clark. On the 2025 capital budget, council allocated funds towards the single service treatment on Scotchmere Drive and Napier Road. Both road segments are due to receive the regular scheduled surface treatment, which is tire and chip. Tender AM 2025-04 for the application of single service treatment was posted through the online platform of bids and tenders with support from our Middlesex County's procurement team. This tender closed on February 13th. We did receive 3 bids. The successful bidder for this application was Walker Construction Limited, based on the lowest overall price. The single service treatment on Scotchmere and Napier Road is currently over budgeted based on the tendered amount of $299,520 plus HST, exceeding the approved budget of $288,400. 400 Scotchmere Drive and 84,000 is what makes up our budget for this year. So we'll be over by $11,120 before HST. In addition, approximately $4,000 in materials will also be required to complete this project, bringing the estimated total cost to $303,520, resulting in a total overage of $15,120 plus HST. It is recommended that the overage for these projects be funded through the Life Cycle Management Reserve Fund, with efforts to identify cost savings in other capital projects to offset the difference. Recommendations in the report, but I'll open up for any questions if there is any. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Coulter? Councillor McKinnon.
Through you, Mayor Clark, to Coulter. How many tender applications did you send out, or forms did you send out?
Through the mayor to Councilor McKinnon, this was posted on bids and tenders, so anybody could bid on this thing if they're watching for tenders. Through actually Josh at the county, he helps us out with that, putting it on bids and tenders, that platform. We did have a few people bid on it, but there's not too many contractors that do single surface treatments.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And you can also see the summary, like there's one that was quite a bit higher, so. Okay, last call for questions on that. Okay, seeing none, then you have a recommendation that the Township Public Works Manager be authorized and directed toward tender number AM 2025-04 to Walker Construction Limited in the amount of $299,520 plus HST for the application of single surface treatment, and that the Township Public Works Manager and Legislative Clerk be authorized to execute on behalf of the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe all agreements and other documents necessary to implement this award. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is our closed session. We have a recommendation that council adjourn to closed session at 7:14 p.m. pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried.